had a lot of other things. So we went there just, you know, real briefly on one of our stops through, and I just thought this was gorgeous. It was just kind of laying on the ground, and just the colors just caught my eye. So that's all woven there. And then the purses. I know a lot of you have seen the purses. The church has had some for sale. I actually bought this one for my daughter, so Mom, don't tell Olivia. It's going to be a Christmas present. But the way they do the purses, the front of the purse is like what a weeple would look like, the blouse. And so a lot of their blouses would have this design and this shape on the bodice of the blouse. And so that's the front, and then the skirt, the corte, is what the back of it looks like, the material of what the skirt would look like. And the different regions, the different villages and different areas have different things. Like some of them have flowers on their weeple or their blouse, and some of them have birds. I bought my daughter one that had cats on the front because she just loves cats. And so they had all different, there's a story kind of behind each one. Which that's something that we didn't necessarily learn all about, but and then this is a little Christmas stocking, and I thought I would just leave that here, and if you want to hang it on your Christmas tree, it's also woven, and then they've got felt around the top of the stocking, and I can pass this stuff around, and then I brought you some coffee beans. Now, I don't know for sure if they have a grinder here or not, so I will take these home and grind them and bring them back. But if you want to pass it around, I don't drink coffee myself, but I think it smells wonderful.
Yeah. It tastes wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
For those of us who are
drink
hooked.
it tell us that it's wonderful. So that's really all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
I have a question. Was this just one village?
No, we actually visited several villages. We were situated at the base of Lake Atitlan. The city is called MAH00116, and there are a lot of villages. We were in the highlands of Guatemala, and so there are a lot of villages that are up in the hills or up in the mountains that we went up and visited. You know, and they're just really just clusters of some of them are just clusters of a lot of families living together, and a couple of the bigger ones might have a store or, you know, just a little like a market. So we visited actually several different villages right there close to that area.
These materials are beautiful. Where do they get the materials from?
They do a lot of, well, they create the material themselves. We did visit on an island. We crossed Lake Atitlan in a boat, and there are volcanoes all around. It's really beautiful. But we crossed over to this island where they have what they call a co-op of different artists, and there was, you know, places that had paintings and places that had I don't remember seeing pottery, but paintings and a lot of the woven things. At the one women's cooperative that we went to, they showed us that they did a demonstration of how they actually start with the cotton and spin the cotton and then do the weaving. And at that particular place, the colors were not as bright because they use all natural, like a different berry makes kind of a purple or pink, or you know, they use all different natural things. So some of the brighter things that might be dyed could potentially fade. But that was neat to see that whole process from the spinning of the cotton to the dyeing, and then they would take it and weave it. So.
So how long were you there?
We were there for, well, we were gone for 7 days. Basically, the first day was traveling, and the last day was traveling.
So what were your accommodations? Where did you stay?
We stayed at a hotel, and it's actually run by one of the co-founders of Mayan Families. It's my understanding, she's kind of retired from the actual running of the company, but it's a nonprofit organization. And Dwight and Sharon are a married couple, and they were co-founders with this Patty, and she has an apartment building. It was really nice where we stayed. MAH00116 is kind of a touristy area. They have cobblestone streets, and you'll have a lot of vendors that'll come up to you on the street, you know, trying to sell you these types of things. It was a very touristy area. There are still a lot of things that you might not have to take into consideration on a vacation somewhere else, like don't drink the water and that type of thing. But it's very touristy in MAH00116 where they're based. But then you go out into the villages up in the mountains, and that's where the people are. So.
I have one more question.
Okay.
You discovered on your trip that these people were very poor. You discovered that you had a lot of things in common as far as your heart and your love for the Lord. What other things did you actually learn on your trip?
Well, we saw, I think it was just really a glimpse of the culture. At one of the preschools we went to, Mayan Families is trying to help them to keep their traditions alive. As far as they have a lot of donations that they get, clothing, American clothing and that type of thing. And the children do wear those, but they also are trying to get so that they have their traditional, the cortes and the weeples, and then the men, their traditional outfit. And at El Barranco, at the preschool there, they did a lot of the dances for us. And you know, they're ceremonial dances, and there's a meaning to each of the dances. And that was really neat to see too. I think that there's a lot more to the culture than what we could possibly find out in that short amount of time. But one of the things that happened when we were there, you know, I said that you don't want to drink the water. Well, Ken, this man who went along with us, he was kind of a character, and he decided at the last, they were doing a dance where it was like serving a meal, and they had what was supposedly a liquor bottle, but it had water in it, and they were serving it. The girls and the guys would come down in pairs, and then the guys would line up. The young men, these were children, would line up, and they would kneel down sit on their knees basically, and in this row, and then the girls would sit across from them. And Ken decided that he'd get up and go to the end of the row when they got almost done. And as they were getting down, one of the boys would go around and pour out of this supposed liquor bottle into this glass. And so Ken gets down there, and he kneels down, and he takes the glass, and he drinks. And so Sharon, one of the founders of Mayan Families, she is originally from Australia, and I'll never forget, she said to Ken, she said, "I hate to tell you this, mate, but you just drank the water." So that was one of the...
and he did get sick.
And he did get sick.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Well, how have you as a group and with your church gone and supported this group even farther?
We have a lot of members of the congregation who sponsor students for the preschools, sponsor elderly for these feeding programs. We've taken up some special offerings. They had torrential rains, and you know, we took a special offering for that. And then the elderly feeding program is currently in danger right now, and we took a special offering for that. We're also doing a lot of discussing about what maybe a next trip might be, and you know, I feel that we still have a connection with them, and that we're meant to have kind of an ongoing connection, probably some trips back, and we're looking at trying to identify a pastor who could, because we could see when we were there, when Pastor Dennis went around, like in the case of the widow lady, and even just lots of other times when he prayed with them, it just, you know, they have that faith, but I don't know that they always have a pastor to provide that kind of support and encouragement. And so there are things like that that we're trying to look into also.
Very good. Thank you.
So thank you everyone very much for putting up with me.
It was quite interesting. It's quite a challenge, and kudos to your church.